Psalm of Asaph. This is a long historical psalm meant to teach future generations. The theme here, God is faithful, but people forget, and forgetting leads to rebellion. The psalm moves through history to show a repeating cycle, okay? Listen to my teaching. The purpose of this psalm is educational. Parents must tell children the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power, and the wonders he has done. Why? So the next generation would know them. The goal is to prevent them from becoming like their ancestors, stubborn, rebellious, unfaithful. Forgetting God's works leads to repeating old mistakes, okay? Then the people had weapons and strength, yet turned back in battle. Why? They forgot what he had done. He had parted the sea, led them with cloud and fire, split rocks in the wilderness, gave water from stone. Miracles fade quickly if memory is not cultivated. Even after miracles, they rebelled. They asked, "Can God really spread a table in the wilderness?" God answered with manna and quail. But their craving turned into excess. Judgment followed. Gratitude collapses when desire becomes entitlement, right? Then a temporary repentance. When trouble came, they sought God. But their repentance was shallow. They flattered him with their mouths. Yet God showed compassion and restrained his anger. God's mercy often outlasts human sincerity, right? Then the psalm retells the plagues in Egypt. God turned rivers to blood, sent flies and frogs, struck livestock, killed firstborn. Then led his people safely through the sea, okay? Yet they still forgot. Even the most dramatic salvation can fade in memory, okay? Once settled in the land, they continued to test God. They worship idols. This led to national defeat and the loss of the sanctuary. Prosperity often produces spiritual forgetfulness. Okay, God chooses David. Then the psalm ends with restoration. God rejects the tribe of Ephraim and chooses Judah. He establishes Zion and raises David as shepherd king, okay? David leads with integrity of heart, skillful hands, and God's solution to chaos is righteous leadership, okay? What are the key lessons from Psalm 78? The first one is, faith must be intentionally taught across generations. Second lesson, forgetting God leads to rebellion. Third lesson, miracles alone do not sustain faith. Fourth lesson, entitlement destroys gratitude. Fifth lesson, shallow repentance cannot sustain change. Sixth lesson, prosperity can weaken spiritual memory. And final lesson, God ultimately restores through faithful leadership. In summary, Psalm 78 recounts Israel's history to teach future generations about the dangers of forgetting God's works. Despite witnessing miracles in Egypt and provision in the wilderness, the people repeatedly rebelled, complained, and turned to idols. Their repentance was often shallow, yet God continued to show mercy. The psalm concludes with God choosing Judah, Zion, and David to shepherd his people with integrity. The message is clear. Remembering God's acts and passing them to the next generation is essential to prevent repeating the failures of the past. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.